Lansing's only sports station. The Game, 7:30.
Let's play.
Coaching records continue to fall, this time on the ice, and some good news when it comes to the number of registered officials. I'm John Ross, and this is This Week in High School Sports, powered by Michigan Student Aid. No one has coached more Michigan high school hockey teams to victory than Doug Toller. The head coach of the Genesee Generals won his 630th game during the winter break, topping the previous high of 629 set by Trenton's Mike Turner. Toller started his career in 1979 at Flint Northern. He then coached at Grand Blanc for 10 years before moving to Davison in 1992. Davison is the primary school of a four-school co-op named the Genesee Generals. Flushing, Goodrich, and Swartz Creek are the other schools.
I'm probably the most fortunate hockey coach in the world to have had so many great young men. It's really all about them. They've just put me in a position, I guess, to be here and reap the benefit. But I have to give them a lot of credit for everything that they've done. I love being on the ice and working with the kids and trying to get them to kind of understand the game a little bit better and become better players. And it's also about being better people too, you know, having respect and all the life lessons that go with it.
That was Toller speaking with Miriam Bingham of ABC 12 Sports after the record-breaking victory. Genesee will have another 10 games in the regular season to add to Toller's win total before starting regional play in late February. To see all of the MHSAA's ice hockey records, individual, team, coaching, and playoff, be sure to check out MHSAA.com and click on Ice Hockey. It's time for Game Balls, when we highlight a trio of standout performances from the past week. First, Arthur Hill Jr. wrestler Michael Baldwin. He captured the Saginaw County Wrestling Invitational title at 165 pounds, the last county wrestling title for Arthur Hill before they merge with Saginaw High next school year. Hancock senior hockey player Sam Roberts, he tallied the winner in a 3-2 victory over the Capital City Capitals. It was Roberts' second goal of the year. And a Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central wrestler, Mary Alice Lynch. She recorded her 100th win on the mat with a victory in the SMCC Girls Wrestling Tournament.
For high school seniors, the matchup of the year isn't on the field. It's actually online. That's right. When you fill out the FAFSA, you know, the free application for federal student aid, you could also be eligible for thousands of dollars in additional money from the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. Yep, nearly 80% of students who fill out the FAFSA may be eligible. Now that's a matchup we can all root for. Get started today at michigan.gov/achievement. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship. It's a game changer.
Our weekly Be the Referee feature takes a look at the fine art of officiating with the MHSAA's Director of Officiating Services, Sam Davis.
If a basketball team has a good post player, you'll usually hear the opposing crowd call for 3 seconds. But what is 3 seconds and when should it be called? A 3-second violation occurs when a player is in the lane for more than 3 seconds, but it's not always that easy. First, a player can leave the lane and then reestablish position, resetting the 3-second clock. To establish position outside the lane, the player must have both feet on the playing surface outside of the lane. It won't reset the count if one foot is outside the lane and the other foot is in the air. Also, during a throw-in or while dribbling, attempting a shot, or rebounding, there is no 3-second count. The count does not start again until the offense has control of the ball in the front court.
Thanks, Sam. Now more than ever, we need officials. If you're interested, go to the MHSAA website now to register. Sticking with officiating, for the third year in a row, the number of registered officials in Michigan is up slightly. And while any increase is good news, it still comes after 9 straight years of decline. So while the recent trend is encouraging, there's still a ways to go as a lack of officials puts extra strain on current officials. To help recruit and retain officials, the MHSAA has provided membership in the National Association of Sports Officials. Membership gives officials expanded insurance coverages, access to professional services and development, and a subscription to an MHSAA-focused referee magazine. But there's still a need for more. If you're interested, go to MHSAA.com and click on Officials for more information. Because without officials, It's just practice. You've been listening to This Week in High School Sports, powered by Michigan Student Aid, a production of the MHSAA Network. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Ross, and we'll be back next week.
Hope you stretched during that timeout.
We're back for more sports. It's The Game, 7:30 a.m. I think I pulled a hammy.
And a good Saturday morning to everyone out there listening in mid-Michigan in these snowy, windy conditions. Not in here, not in the studios of WVFN. This is High School Rewind, the weekly show that recaps the week that was in boys and girls basketball. I am Brock Palmbush, taking you up until 11 o'clock, and that's when Will Tiemann, Dalton Shetler, and the Sports Life will take over from 11 until noon. Among the things they'll be talking about, of course, Michigan's national championship victory over Washington that occurred earlier this week. And then coming up later on today, we've got both NFL wildcard games today. At 4 o'clock, it is the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. And then at 8 o'clock, if you don't have a streaming service, it's only on Peacock streaming service on television, but we've got it right here on the radio beginning at 8 o'clock. It is the Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. And over on 1240 WJIM this afternoon at 4 o'clock, it's Michigan State hockey playing the second of two games in Penn State against the Nittany Lions. But here, it's high school basketball. It's boys and girls high school basketball. And an eventful week, of course, influenced by the weather. There were no games last night, understandably so, with all the bad weather that happened. But there was a lot of action from earlier this week. And the game of the week was the game that Eric, Doc, Love, and I did on Thursday night. It was Waverly at East Lansing. Coming into the contest, Waverly was 8-2 on the season, and East Lansing was 7-0 on the season heading into that contest. Standing room only crowd. That gym there at East Lansing High School can seat 1,800 people or thereabouts. Trust me. There was more than 2,000 people there because of the balcony standing room. You can stand in the balcony that overlooks the court. There were well over 2,000 people there. It was just jam-packed in there, and they saw a good one. And East Lansing was able to come from behind at halftime. They were down in the first half, and they were down at the half, 31-27. But they were able to rally and win 69-62 in the first of potentially three meetings this year between East Lansing and Waverly. And it was the KJ Torbert show. KJ didn't start in the game, remarkably, so he only played about three-quarters of the game. But he had 32 points. He had 3 rebounds. He did get a technical in the first half. Apparently he said something that on the court that you can't really say. One of the choice words I guess you can't say. But, man, he overcame that. He scored 21 of his 32 points in the second half. And that was, that was one of the differences in the game. Cam Hudson for East Lansing had 18 points. He had 14 of his 18 in the second half. And they were the guys in the second half, rather. J.L. Branson had 12 points to go with 3 rebounds. And Charlie Baker saddled with foul trouble. He only had 4 points, but he had 10 big rebounds and a couple of blocks. Oh, by the way, Cam Hudson had a couple of blocks as well. And they were able to come from behind a big second half. Very eventful game, very emotionally charged, and everything you want to see in high school basketball. As for Waverly, I think the story of the game was, well, on the positive side, Deontay Pfeiffer, 26 points, 4 rebounds, couple of blocked shots. He was Waverly's best player last Thursday night. And Derek Thomas II, he had a terrific sophomore season, but he struggled against East Lansing. He did have 10 rebounds, but he had only 9 points. And he had many, many games where he'd scored in excess of 20 points. He had a number of 30-point games. I think he had a 40-point game earlier this season. But he was held down to 9 points, and that's one of the reasons why East Lansing was able to come away victorious. Deshante Malone, he had 11 points for the Warriors. Louis McLeod came off the bench. He had 7 points. Trey Miller had all 7 of his points in the first half and didn't score in the second half. That was another factor as well. East Lansing out-rebounded Waverly 28-18 in the game, and that's the story for game 1 of potentially 3, because they're playing in the Mason District and could eventually play each other one more time. Taking a look at some of the other action around the area on Thursday. Mason stays undefeated in league play. They took care of Eastern 71 to 45. They look to be the team to beat in the CAAC Red, like we thought before the season started. And Caleb Parrish, 17 points. Kason Carswell's had a terrific season, not just for football, but he's had a real good year for basketball as well. He had 14. Right now, Mason is 9-2 overall. They are 4-0 in the CAAC Red. They got a one-game lead over Williamston right now. Taking a look at some of the other action, Holt over Everett. This was on Thursday, 72-68. Portland still only has one loss on the season. They are 8-1 overall, 4-1 in the CAAC White. And, they're having a terrific season under Coach Luke Pohl. Okemos beat Grand Ledge 54-39. Brennan Walton, 12 points, 10 rebounds to lead Okemos over GL. Okemos 9-1 overall. They are 3-0 in the CAAC Blue. And it looks like it's going to be those three teams as well as DeWitt for the league championship right now. Okemos 3-0 in the league. East Lansing 2-0 in the league. Waverly and DeWitt both 1-1 in the league. So it looks like, at least right now, it's going to be those four teams there. Taking a look at some of the other action from earlier this week. Sexton now has the lead in the once again keeps the lead in the CAAC White. They were victorious earlier this week. They beat Lakewood out at Lake Odessa 67-55. Keyshawn Somerville, he had 15 points to lead Sexton in the victory. Devin Hodges-Smith had 12. Joe Pizzo added 10. Sexton, one of the really good stories in the mid-Michigan area. They are 4-0 in the league, but they're followed closely by Charlotte, Portland, and Olivet. Charlotte's 3-1. Portland is 4-1, and Olivet is 3-1 in league play. Looks like it's going to be those four teams. They are far outdistanced everyone else in the CAAC White. Oh, now I'm being told Waverly's not in the Mason District. They play in Grand Ledge. Maybe I'm confusing them with Okemos. That might be what I was confused with. But that's still going to be a good district there for in the Mason District, as well as Grand Ledge. Grand Ledge and Waverly in that district, that's going to look very, very good. When we get later on in the season, when we get the matchups, we'll go over all the district matchups for both boys and girls. And Langsburg boys, they just keep it going. They just keep winning. They're 8-0 now, 6-0 in the CMAC. And they just, it's a two-team race now in the CMAC because Pewamo Westphalia won again. They are 5-1 in the league. They are 8-1 overall. Their only loss of the season was to Langsburg in overtime in December. They'll be playing again coming up later on this season. So that's the boys' outlook right now. Taking a look at the girls' outlook. Well, the game of the week was back on Tuesday. We'd looked forward to this one for a while. Portland and Lansing Catholic. Portland had been undefeated heading into that contest. They were 7-0, 3-0 in league play heading into that game. And, they kind of ran into an offensive buzzsaw. It was for Lansing Catholic. Really put it to them in the first half. It was 34-13. Catholic at halftime, and it wasn't just one player. We know about the Richards sisters, Anna and Leah, and Gabby Hallowell, who's had a terrific season so far. They really put it to Portland in the first half. They held Portland to just 2 field goals in the first half. 2. Am I reading? Let me see if I can read my notes right. Yes. Yeah. 2 field goals. 3 field goals, rather, in the first half. Malia Thalen had 2 of them. Paige Spadowski had the other one. And the rest were free throws. Just a tremendous defensive effort. And then it was a lot more even in the second half. Portland played better, and I thought personally, that they played harder in that second half. But, man, Gabby Hallowell's been their best player so far. She ended up with 16 points, 4 rebounds. Leah Richards, 14 points, 6 rebounds. Anna Richards, 13 points, 5 rebounds. She had a couple of blocks as well. And it's those 3 that are leading the way there for Lansing Catholic. They they got it done from the free throw line, too. They only went to the free throw line, did Catholic 3 times. They made all 3 free throws in the game. And Coach Casey Reed's got her team going. Suffered some early losses this season, playing out-of-area teams. But as far as taking care of teams in the mid-Michigan area, they've beaten all of them. And they are now 5-3 on the season. They are 4-0 in the CAAC White. They're leading the league right now. And another cool thing that happened on Thursday night in a game that was supposed to be played on Friday, but because of the impending weather, they decided to move it up a day, was Lansing Catholic honoring last year's state championship team. Banner raising ceremony at halftime of the boys' game between Catholic and Lakewood. And congratulations to them finally being honored. A little surprised they're doing it now. I thought they would do it at opening night, but they decided to do it in January. And the banner will be in the rafters at the Gymnasium. 2023 girls basketball Division II state champions, and it'll be there forever. And they're looking for more this year. They've got a chance to make another deep run this coming March. Taking a look at some of the other action that occurred last night, or not necessarily, or not last night, but Thursday night. Most of the games. Hazlitt, they're still very, very formidable. They're 6-3 overall. They're 3-1 in the league. They beat St. John's 65-45. Elena Armstrong led Grand Ledge with 30 points, 10 rebounds. One of the best performances we've seen this season. Grand Ledge has struggled this season, but that's a good win at Okemos. 51-32 for the Lady Comets. Bath, one of the real good stories this season. Bath. In fact, we're going to be talking with their head coach, Gabe Sowa, here coming up on the other side of this break. First-year coach. He coached the boys' team for a number of years and now transitioning over to the girls' team. And they're off to a terrific start, one of only 2 unbeaten teams. They beat Dansville on Thursday, a very good Dansville team, 35-17. You've heard me talk about Dansville for a couple of years now because of Megan Zeitz, their terrific player. Bath held Megan Zeitz to 6 points on the night. 6. And they're leading right now in the CMAC. Well, they're half a game behind Fowler. Fowler's 5-0 in the league because Fowler just keeps on winning. Also, Portland rebounded from the loss to Lansing Catholic with a 63-30 victory over Eaton Rapids. Williamston leading the way in the CAAC Red. They beat Fowlerville 53-28. Looks like that's going to be a 3-team race right now because Mason beat Eastern 53-13. And already talked about Hazlitt as well. Langsburg, they've been down a little bit in recent years, but they look to be back up now, beating Saranac 54-15. Portland St. Pat's over Lansing Christian 53-21. Riley Scherer had 21 points to lead St. Pat's in the victory. PW, they've struggled a bit this season, but they were able to be victorious at Potterville 47-22. Talked a little bit about Fowler. They took care of Perry easily, 59-13. So taking a look at the standings here. First in the CAAC Blue, DeWitt, Holt, and Eaton and East Lansing all 2-0 in league play. DeWitt's 8-1 overall. Holt 6-3 overall. Both of them won in non-conference play earlier this week. East Lansing was victorious as well. They are now 5-3, 6-3 right now in the league. In the CAAC Red, or 6-3 overall, they're 2-0 in the league rather. In the CAAC Red, looks like it's going to be 3 teams. Williamston at 4-0 in the league. Hazlitt is 3-1. Mason is a 3-1 as well. Williamston 6-4 overall. Hazlitt 6-3 overall, and Mason is 5-3 overall. Lansing Catholic now leading the CAAC White with a 4-0 league record. They have Portland is right behind them at 4-1. Olivet is 3-1. Lakewood is at 3-2 on the season, and Charlotte is 2-2 in league play. In the CMAC, it is Fowler at 5-0 or 6-0 in the league. They are 8-1 overall. Bath is right there at 4-0 and 7-0 overall. Langsburg, they are 4-1 in league play, as is Portland St. Pat's. Both of those teams are 5-2 overall. Other teams you need to look out for: Ovid LC 7-0 on the season. Coach Dr. Ryan Cunningham, another outstanding team. Morris is 6-1 overall. Leslie is 6-2 overall. We're going to take a timeout. We're going to come back. Gabe Sowa, the first-year head coach of Bath girls basketball. They're undefeated on the season, one of only 2 unbeaten teams in girls basketball in the mid-Michigan area. We're going to talk to him on the other side of this break. This is High School Rewind on the Game 730 AM WVFN, the Game730AM.com, the Game 730 AM app, and the Lansing Sports Network.
The Game 730 AM studio is powered by Driven Collision. We make friends by accident.
Welcome back to High School Rewind on the Game 730 AM WVFN. It's brought to you in part by, well, like you just heard, Doubting Industries. Jeff and Chris Metz and Doubting Industries, and also by the Lansing Sports Commission. No matter the sport, the Lansing Sports Commission can make your best event, your next event, your best event. That's what I wanted to say. Plan on something greater. Find out more at lansingsports.org. And yes, Jeff and Chris Metz and Doubting Industries. If you're wondering what your future holds and you're not going to college, you found out college just isn't for you. Hey, college isn't for everybody, you know. Check out the future that skilled trades can offer you. You'll be surprised. Check them out at doubtingindustries.com. Happy to be joined now by the first-year head coach for Bath girls basketball. You may recognize his name because he's coached the boys team at Bath for a number of years now, but he's transitioned over to the girls, and I'm telling you, they are one of the surprise stories. One of the surprise stories in the mid-Michigan area. Just checking the preseason predictions on LSJ.com. Bath was projected to finish 6th before the season started in the CMAC, the new 10-team league with Lansing Christian and Perry joining the league. Right now, they're, you could say, tied for first. Fowler is at 5-0 in the league, but Bath is right there at 4-0, and Bath is one of only two teams that are undefeated at 7-0, and their first-year head coach, Gabe Sowa, joining me now here on the show on High School Rewind. Good morning, Coach. Oh, hang on here. I hit the wrong button. Let's try that again. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm not as good as you. I'm not undefeated right now, and just had another big week, capped off by a huge win over Dansville earlier this week. That was on Thursday, and wow, what a massive win for your team. And man, you got before we get into details, you got to be proud of your team so far. Did you expect to be 7-0 at this point of the season?
I mean, you hope that you have you start off successful. I'm not sure you would, predict that we would be 7-0, but looking at the schedule, we thought we had a really productive summer, and coming into the season, we thought, you know what, we could probably, if we can get off to a really good start. The girls really bought into what we were doing, and so yeah, I mean, I thought we could get off to a good start, but 7-0, no, it's been an awesome ride so far.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it here. Your closest win was, or your closest game so far has been back on December 11th. You beat Durand at home 52-30. Oh, no, that's not correct. No, you beat Perry on the road 48-30. So 18 points. That's your closest game so far. That's really stunning there. And what's even more stunning is when you beat Dansville, the defending league champions. They got to the regional finals last year. They have a great guard, Megan Zeitz, 1,000-point score, and yet you held them to 17 points, and you held Zeitz to just 6 points on the season, on the night. Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of our measuring stick game to say, hey, where are we? We've off to a good start. Let's see what we can do against some of the, our schedule coming up has a lot of the perennial, league top teams, and we knew going in that they were one of the favorites, and so. We really had a pretty good game plan going in. The girls followed that to a T. And then, we just tried to follow her as much as possible because we know she's a phenomenal player and probably one of the better players in the league, in the area, and maybe even in the state. So, it was a good productive victory for us.
And a productive week and a productive season so far. Talking with Gabe Sowa, the first-year head coach at Bath High School. Yes, you've coached Bath boys basketball for a number of years. This is your first year coaching the girls team. Why the transition, and how has the transition been for you?
Well, so when the position opened up back in May, I have 3 girls. And
okay.
So 2 of them play, in elementary and love the game of basketball. And so I kind of sat with my wife and said, I think this might be the transition because I really want to coach my own kids someday. And so you don't know if that opportunity is ever going to come back up. And so, we had a great 13 years with the boys program. Got to won a couple districts, got to a quarterfinal. So it was kind of bittersweet, but I was very excited to get started. And I knew we had a lot of talent in the program. The girls, the senior class especially, even the juniors, have had some success at the younger levels. And so I thought there was a lot of potential there. And so we got started, and this summer, like I said, the girls really bought in. We had a really productive summer. They're at everything. They're watching film. They're asking questions. Like they're into it, and that's kind of what I wanted to see, is to get them the love of the game again. And it seems like that's kind of taken off. But no, the transition has been awesome. I've really enjoyed it.
Speaking with Gabe Sowa, the first-year head coach of Bath girls basketball, they are undefeated on the season, one of only 2 unbeaten teams on the girls' side, along with the 7-0 Ovid Elsie. And, Coach, let's talk about, you said girls got a great attitude. Let's talk about the players themselves. I'm seeing Aubrey Shively, names like that, amongst your leading scorers. Anna Papama, Aubrey Shively, Aubrey Torak, girls like that. Talk about your team in particular. What makes them so good? Is it just one player? Or is it just like, the sum is greater than all the parts combined?
I think it's the second you said. We have some good players with potential to be great players, but the thing about this group is they play for each other. There's nights where we have 5 or 6 kids that could lead us in scoring. We have 5 or 6 kids that could lead us in rebounding. Steals. I've got 2 kids averaging 4 and 3 steals a game. They love playing for each other. We have about 2/3 of our baskets are on assists from somebody else, so they always look to make the next pass and to see who hit the open player. And so they really play for one another, and it's been awesome. But yes, there's some nights where Aubrey Torak's our leading scorer, but Aubrey Shively's right behind her. We got a couple averaging double digits, and then we have some averaging 7, 6. So it's definitely a team effort, and they, like I said, they've really bought into what we've been preaching.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. And talking about steals and lots of steals, do you have the girls press, or how do you do it?
Well, we've kind of gone. When I was with the boys program, we had put in a matchup zone.
Okay.
And so we went with that. We over the summer we put it in because it takes a while, and the girls have bought into it. Like they play extremely hard in it. And I feel like a matchup is sometimes harder than a man or even a traditional zone to teach, because there's a lot of principles and a lot of reads and stuff you have to make. And man, our matchup on Thursday night was impressive. They were in pretty much every spot that they needed to be, and talking and communicating. And I think that's kind of where I've been impressed with them, is defensively. I can't imagine we're giving up, I don't know the exact stat, but I can't imagine we're giving up more than 25 to 30 points a game. And so if you can do that, every night, you got a pretty good shot at winning a basketball game.
Yeah, so it's pretty much half-court matchup zone defense. Do you do much pressing?
We do some.
Okay.
Depends on the situation. We will run some man, too. I'm kind of one that I don't rely exactly on one thing. I think you got to look at who you match up against and what strengths you have, maybe a weakness or two that they have, and you try to kind of exploit that as much as possible.
Yeah, mix up defenses for your own advantage. I like that. I love the matchup zone defense. A lot of coaches don't like zone defense because say you can get lazy and there's a lot of standing around and whatever. But a matchup zone, you still got to be aggressive with the person with the ball and do a good job with that. Yeah, taking a look at some of your defense, you allowed 8 points to Brighton Cheryl Stockwell Academy. 17 points you allowed to Potterville. 25 you allowed to Lansing Christian. 21 to Saranac. And I just mentioned 17 to Dansville. Yeah, I would say defense is your calling card right now. The most points that you've scored in a game was 54 against Saranac. But you've had other games, 51 points, 52 points, 50 points. So you are scoring enough points to win. If you're playing that good a defense, there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to have difficulty with that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to our steals. We knew coming in, we're not the tallest of teams, but we knew rebounding, defensive pressure would be ways for us to score. Because there's a lot of good defensive teams in our league, and a lot of different things you see. One night you'll see a zone, one night you'll see man, and so some nights you're not going to shoot the ball well. Some nights you're just going to be off. And our philosophy is if we can defend, at least we know if we're off, that's some place where we can get maybe some easy buckets. We can maybe get some somebody who's having a tough shooting night. Maybe we can get them going by getting a steal, getting a layup, or something like that.
Sowa, the first-year head coach for Bath girls basketball, joining me here on the High School Rewind. The CMAC's one of the best leagues, Class C or Class D or Division III, Division IV leagues in the entire state of Michigan. You've got 2 additions this year. Lansing Christian and Perry come in from the disbanded Greater Lansing Activities Conference. That is no longer. But you've got 2 more teams, and at least on the girls' side, they're competitive. Perry struggled a bit this season. Lansing Christians have been in there as well. Your thoughts on the expanded CMAC league? How do you think it's affected you and the other longstanding members of the conference, like PW, Langsburg, Fowler? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's added some 4 more league games to our schedule, which kind of eliminates some non-conference opponents that you could play. But I think overall it's added some depth to our league. Lansing Christians traditionally has a pretty good program. So they add to ours. Perry is it's nice to have someone close that we can that's competitive.
Oh yeah, Perry's not that far from you.
Right, they were a non-conference for us. Now they're a conference. So I think it just makes our league tougher, and I think that, and which allows us to then be more successful in the postseason. Especially you look at Fowler and PW and St. Pat's and Langsburg. The successes they've had in the postseason has to do with how hard the conference schedule is.
And this year's no exception. The CMAC very, very competitive. You know how good it's been in recent years. Fowler has won state titles. They've won 2 state titles in a row. Dansville won the league last year. They got to the regional finals. Portland St. Pat's has terrific teams every single year. Langsburg, they've been down a little bit for a couple of years. They're back up this year. When Pewamo Westphalia, one of the standard bearers in this league, is in 6th place, and they are right now. They're in 6th place right now. They're 2-3 in the league and in 6th place. This league is pretty deep. That's pretty impressive right there. Every night out is just a difficult game for you in the league.
Yeah, it really is. PW has played a pretty tough non-conference schedule too. So their record may not reflect exactly what they, how good they are. But yeah, definitely. You look at the Fowlers and the St. Pat's. I'm sure Al up there at St. Pat's probably needs to have a statue whenever he decides to step down.
No kidding.
That's just a competitive league. And for us, like I said, the next 4 are going to be kind of measuring sticks of where we are, where we need to work on, where we're going to need to be, because they're not going to be easy games for sure.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm looking up, trying to look up your district. Well, where are you? Where is your district this year?
We are at Perry.
You're going to Perry this year.
Yep. We have Dansville, Langsburg.
There, I see it.
Perry. Yep.
I got it here.
I think Leslie and Stockbridge, yeah.
Yep, Bath, Dansville, Langsburg, Leslie, Perry, and Stockbridge. That's competitive district
yes.
Right there. Perry, not too far away from you guys, just up the road on I-69 there a little bit. There's easier districts out there. Stockbridge is 4-4. Perry struggled a bit this year. Leslie is 6-2. Langsburg is up, I just mentioned, and of course, Dansville as well. Hey, you get through that district, you've beaten some good teams.
Yeah, the depth of that district is, when I look at, records and you look at the MPR and MHSA and stuff, man, that depth of that, there's 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that have a legitimate shot at winning it. So, yeah, if you can get out of that, then you never know. You can see how, February, March, end of February, beginning of March is a weird time sometimes, and you know how it is. That's why they call it the March Madness. You never know.
Yeah, you do never know.
Right, yeah. If you can get out of your district. You look at Fowler St. Pat's. They played in the districts the last 2 or 3 years. St. Pat's probably could have, you win those games. They make a run, too. So it just depends.
Yep, it does. It does depend. Coming up next week, and I'll ask you a couple of other questions here. Coming up next week here for Bath girls basketball, and bringing the schedule up. Yeah, there we go. You're hosting. Well, talk about PW. Another tough week for you. You got to go to. You host PW rather coming up on Tuesday night, and then you got to go to Langsburg. In your one of your arch rivals. That's a pretty big week for you. Girls know what they're up against, though, don't they?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I mean, even actually the next 2 weeks, because after that we go to St. Pat's, and then we have Fowler at home.
Oh, so yeah. Oh, my goodness.
The next 4 are going to be, and we understand that. And I mean, like I told them, you're 7-0, and now you've kind of gone from being that team that was picked in 6th in the league or whatever to now you kind of got a little bullseye on your back, and people are recognizing you, and now they're going to pay more attention to you. So we have to make sure that we take care of what we need to take care of because, those are not easy contests at all.
Yeah, that Bath Fowler game probably will, will probably be for, or might be for the league lead. But you got to get past PW coming up on Tuesday, and then Langsburg on Thursday. You were talking earlier about, with 2 new teams in the league, scheduling, and now we're playing 22 games instead of 20. Just about every coach I've talked to, both boys and girls, are for that, and a lot of them would like to see it expanded to maybe 24 or even 26 games. Your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of in the boat of neutral on that, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I like 22. I think our season gets kind of long sometimes for kids. You go from November to March. I would be fine with adding, but I would also be okay if we kept it at 22. I think that's a lot of games for kids. Plus, if you make some kind of a postseason run, you're looking at getting close to 30 games in a season, which is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I'm kind of neutral on that. I would be okay with it, or I would be fine staying where we're at, to be very honest.
And I guess last question for you. With the new foul rule that the MHSA has adopted from the National Federation, going to 5 fouls per quarter, no more 1-and-1s. It's fouls per quarter, not by half. It's adopting the rule in women's college basketball and the NBA rule, or at least, the NBA rule is a little bit different than the way your girls will do it. 5 fouls per quarter. Your thoughts on that? How do you think it's affected the game?
I enjoy it. We're not a team that gets a lot of fouls, so we don't do it. But I think it adds a lot of. I think you think about the fact that it'll shorten games because you're not maybe in the bonus in the first quarter, and now you're shooting free throws the rest of the way. I do enjoy the strategy part of it too, because if you've got 3 fouls at the end of a quarter, and you're on defense, maybe you take a foul there with someone who it's not going to hurt. Later on in the game, maybe you take a foul if you get beat or something because they're not shooting free throws yet. Later on in that half, it's not going to bother you. You got to reset at the quarter. So I found there's some strategy, a little bit different strategy involved with it than the 1-and-1, the traditional. But I like it. I've actually really enjoyed the rule change with putting the 4 spots for inbounding in the front court, and I really have enjoyed that too.
Okay. All right.
So you don't have to take the ball out in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Try to come up with a out-of-bounds play there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm a little bit – the jury's still out kind of on it. The one thing that you could do that I haven't seen enough coaches do or have enough teams do, let's say, a team's down by 12 at the end of the third quarter. Let's just say that. They're down 32-20, 42-30, whatever. If you're down, you can get really, really aggressive defensively, and if you take a foul or 2 early in the quarter, it's not going to hurt you because if you have to foul later on in the game to stop the clock, you can get yourself into the bonus. And I see so many games now where not enough fouls in the fourth quarter hurt you because when teams start playing keep away or going into a delay with 2 to 3 minutes to go when they're up by 5 or 6 points or even closer than that, then they've got to foul a lot to shoot free throws, whereas before it didn't happen quite as much.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You have to be, because before you would probably already be close to your 7 fouls,
right?
Being known that it's a half, but and again, that's the more strategy. Yes, if you're down, I definitely would make sure that we were getting close to that 5 fouls. So when it does get crunch time, if you need to foul, you can. And you can save time, because by then trying to foul all the time, if you wasted, you're probably going to waste 10 to 15 seconds of valuable time trying to get up to that 5th foul.
Yeah.
When you need that time to, to hopefully convert some turnovers and get some scores.
Gabe Sowa, the first-year head coach for Bath girls basketball. The Bath girls are undefeated right now. One of only 2 teams in the area that's undefeated. They're 7-0, along with Ovid Elsie, a team that you could potentially meet later on in the season, later on in the state tournament. Who the heck knows? What a great team that they've got. But you got a good one as well, Coach Sowa. 7-0 on the season. Congratulations on the start so far, and best of luck, and we'll be watching.
Hey, thanks, Brock. Appreciate it.
Gabe Sowa, the first-year head coach of Bath girls basketball. Glad that he could join us here this morning. We'll take a timeout and come back. And Brian Calloway, the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com, he's coming up next. This is High School Rewind on the Game 7:30 a.m. WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network.
Sports, opinions, and you. The station Lansing turns to for sports. The Game 7:30 a.m.
Welcome back to High School Rewind on the Game 7:30 a.m. WVFN. Brock Palmbush here for another few minutes. We're now joined by Brian Calloway, the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. And Brian, we were at the Thursday game, Waverly at East Lansing, 2,000 people. Listed capacities 1,800 and change. There were more than 2,000 as it was standing room only crowd in the balcony. It lived up to the hype for the most part. Waverly had the lead in the first half, but then East Lansing behind KJ Torbert was just outstanding the entire game. And he didn't even start the game. That's the thing about it. He scored 32 points and only played, 3/4 of the game, if that?
Yeah, well, he came off the bench with probably about halfway through the first quarter. Him and J.L. Branson came off the bench. And then, from there, he, showed, why he's made for the big game, just kind of with the plays that he was able to make throughout the night that was pretty big for East Lansing, and being able to, kind of weather a game like that where obviously Waverly got off to a hot start, had a strong finish to the first half, and we're leading at halftime as well, too. But, East Lansing put together that big third quarter that was pretty big for them, and being able to pick up a pretty big league win.
Yeah, absolutely. They scored 19 points in the third quarter compared to 8 for Waverly. That turned out to be the difference in the game. And also, I thought their defense on Derek Thomas II was big too. Derek Thomas II, really good sophomore for Waverly. He's had a great year so far, but he got held to 9 points. He did have 10 rebounds, but he only had 9 points. It seemed like East Lansing was really keying on him.
Yeah, and obviously Dante Pfeiffer, he was able to make, numerous plays throughout the night as well, too. But, obviously, them being able to slow down Derek Thomas was, played a big role in what they were able to do as well in that game.
East Lansing undefeated now at 9-0 on the season. The only other undefeated team on the boys' side is Langsburg. They just keep winning and winning and winning. They're 8-0 on the season. Looking at some of the other action that occurred, there were no games last night, obviously, because of the weather. A team like Portland on the boys' side, they weren't really expected to do a whole heck of a lot so far this season, and yet they've only got 1 loss on the season. They're 8-1 under Coach Luke Pohl, the former PW coach. This is the best team they've had there in a number of years.
Yeah, the start that they have gotten off to is really strong. Eden Rapids has been one of those other surprises in the area, and they were able to pick up the win over them on Thursday night. And, it came back from a slow start in that game. They were down at halftime and rallied to the win in that game. So, that's big for them. They obviously have a big game ahead come Tuesday when they play at Charlotte. So that will be a big game for them, just to kind of see how they stack up in the league as well, too, because, obviously, they're right there tied with each other, or second place, behind Sexton as of right now. But that's going to be a big game in the CAAC White standings for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. Okemos looking strong as well. Looking forward to the 2 games against East Lansing coming up. We've talked about it before. It looks like it's going to be It looks like it's going to be Okemos, East Lansing, Waverly, and DeWitt right now. Even though DeWitt lost out of the league this week, they're still right there. A big win for Okemos over Grand Ledge. Going on the road, they had lost twice to Grand Ledge last year, but Okemos going on the road, getting it done, winning 54-39 to get to 9-1 overall.
Yeah, what Okemos has done has been impressive. Only lost there to Detroit Catholic Central. So, yeah, it's been an impressive start for them. And like you said, I think everyone's kind of looking forward to when they do match up with the East Lansing and even the matchups with Waverly as well, too. Those should be pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's we talked about the power being in the CAAC blue, and for the most part, that is the case. CAAC red, Mason's looking like they're taking control of that. They beat Eastern pretty badly on a Thursday night. A game that was originally scheduled for Friday but got moved up to Thursday. Mason won that one 71-45. They've got Caleb Parrish back, and he's making a difference. Kason Carswell not only is having a good year in football, a great year in football, he's off to a good start in basketball as well. Those two guys are getting it done, as well as Luke Marlin.
Yeah, Luke Marlin and you have Levi Stambaugh as well, too. And you talked about, it's a pretty big week for Mason with what they were able to do. They beat DeWitt by, I think, 20 on Tuesday, and then obviously with the win that they had at home over Eastern as well, too. Those are two pretty significant wins for them, and, kind of starting for them to build some momentum as well, too. Yeah,
Caleb Parrish, 32 points in the big win over a very good DeWitt squad. That's a huge win for Mason there. And, taking a look at that. Yeah, it looks like Mason's, in the lead right now. They are 4-0 in the league. Williamston is at 3-1. Eastern and St. John's at 2-2. CAAC White, Sexton continues to lead the way. They went to Lake Odessa and beat Lakewood 67-55. Keyshawn Somerville, 15 points. Devin Hodges in double figures, as was Joe Pizzo. We've seen the Sexton squad. They're very, very good. Some close losses out of conference, and it looks like that's going to be a 4-team race as well, with Charlotte, Portland, and Olivet trailing just behind them.
Yeah, and Sexton's already got wins over both, Olivet and Charlotte as well, too. So, that's big for them just to kind of get a early heads up in the league race as well, too. But, yeah, they've been impressive. As their coach Deering said over there, they try to keep teams under 50 points, and then, so play good defense and, make enough plays with their talented core players. That includes Keyshawn Somerville, and they've got some other talented pieces as well, too, that can do some things for them. But, definitely they put themselves in a good position, as we enter mid-January with where they are in the CAAC White race.
Moving on to girls basketball here. Man, Lansing Catholic, a big week for them. They honored the last year's state championship team. The banner raising ceremony was Thursday after their game against Lakewood, which they won pretty easily. But, man, on Tuesday, 11 three-point baskets they had. 11 of them. They had 7 in the first half, and beating an excellent Portland squad easily, 62-34. And Catholic's got the most talent in the area. They've beaten everybody in that they've played so far. That's a mid-Michigan area team. I think the second time when Catholic and Portland play out at Portland, it'll be closer than that because Portland played better and harder in the second half. But, man, the Richards sisters, Anna and Leah, and especially Gabby Hallowell. Hallowell's having a terrific season for Coach K. Siri. But when they were motivated, because Portland was undefeated. When they're motivated and they're playing at their capabilities, there isn't anybody in this area that can beat them, I don't think.
Yeah, and if you really look at their resume within the area, they pretty much have blown out everybody in the area that they face. That includes Williamston, the CAAC Red leader. They beat them pretty handily. Portland, and then obviously the other teams that they've played in their league as well, too. So, I think, people look at their record and looked and saw that they were, 2-3 entering the year and just, hovering around the 500 mark. But they played a tough schedule. They've gone out and tested themselves early against teams from out of the area. So they've seen different styles. They played some very good teams, and I think, that's something that's prepared them well and it's going to benefit them in the long run. They lost to Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard. I mean, that's a really good team in Division II. Detroit Renaissance is one of the other losses that they had to start the season, and that was a game at a neutral site. And Detroit Renaissance is having a very good season as well too. So, yeah, they played some very tough opponents, and I mean, I think that's something that's helped them. You know, as we saw them play Portland earlier this week, and it's going to help them down the road as they try to build for the state tournament and get ready to try to defend their state title.
It'll be more difficult this year than it was last year. Not that it was easy last year, but I think it'll be more difficult this year, of course, with the target on their back. Finally, I want to ask you about the team, the CMAC on the girls' side, looking very, very strong, 5-6 teams deep, and especially one of the surprises in the area, Bath. You just talked to their head coach, Gabe Sowa, in his first season. Really impressive so far. Bath 7-0 overall. They are 5-0 in league play. They're right there, and it isn't just one player that's getting it done for Bath. It's a collection of the talent and their terrific defense.
You know, I think Bath has been one of the big stories and big surprises in the area this season with what they've done, and I think obviously the win that they were able to pick up on Thursday at home over Dansville was definitely a very huge one. You know, I think that was a game that I've been kind of looking at just to kind of see. You wanted to kind of get an idea of where they stacked up because they pretty much blown out everybody that they faced. And then they put together that impressive win over Dansville and hold Megan Zeitz to, I think, 6 points, I think is what she had in that game as well.
Six points.
Yeah, 6 points in that game. And, you know, she's pretty much been scoring at least 20 points every game. I mean, she's been off to a fantastic start. So what they've been able to do is very impressive, and I think, you know, a game like that definitely kind of cements themselves as, a true CMAC contender, you know, being able to knock off a defending champion and an all-state, limit an all-state player like Megan Zeitz to what they did. I mean, Beth has definitely been very impressive this year.
Yep, and they've got a big week coming up, big 2 weeks coming up. They host PW next Tuesday. They go to Langsburg, who's better this year, on Thursday, and then the following week at St. Pat's, and then home for Fowler. So it doesn't get any easier for them, does it?
No, it definitely doesn't get any easier. But like you said, I mean, I think that's kind of testament to, kind of the talent and the competition in the CMAC where, those are all going to be very big games for them in league play.
Brian Calloway, Prep Sports Editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. Brian, thanks so much for coming on. We'll talk to you same time next week.
Hey, sounds good, Brock. Thanks for having me.
Brian Calloway, Prep Sports Editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. In this final minute or so, want to let you know that coming up today, 4 o'clock p.m., WJIM AM, Michigan State Hockey. They're at Penn State today. They blew out Penn State last night 5-0. They'll go for the sweep this afternoon. Scott Moore, Rob Woodward have the call from State College. And here on WVFN, 4 o'clock, it's the NFL playoffs, wild card weekend, or super wild card weekend that they're calling it. We've got the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. And then at 8 o'clock, in frigid Kansas City, the Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all coming up today. We got MSU men's basketball tomorrow against Rutgers at home, 11 o'clock. We got women's basketball at 3:45 at Ohio State tomorrow afternoon. And we got more NFL action tomorrow afternoon at 12:30. And then the Lions and Rams. You'll hear it here on WVFN, starting with Nachos and Kneecaps at 6:15. And then Lions and Rams Network pregame at 7:15. Then we got the Red Wings at the Maple Leafs also tomorrow night on WJIM. Want to thank Gabe Sowa, the head coach at Bath Girls Basketball. Thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the start so far. And, of course, want to thank Brian Calloway, the Prep Sports Editor of the Lansing State Journal, for coming on. We'll have a game coming up next week. We'll let you know probably on Monday what game we're going to do. This has been High School Rewind on the Game, 7:30 AM WVFN.